So today I'm going to finish section 2 of chapter 10 in Joseph Campbell's book on primitive mythology. Chapter 10 is on the topic of the thresholds of the Neolithic. And section 2 is on the topic of the birth of civilization in the Near East. Among the cylinder seals of Mesopotamia, where many of the basic motifs of the earliest mythology of this dawning age were aphoristically illustrated, there is an image more than once encountered in which, on a fleece-covered couch having legs shaped like those of a bull, a male and female lie extended with a priest officiating at their feet. It seems certain, Dr. Henri Frankfurt observes, that we have here the ritual wedding of the god and goddess. But in the period of the hieratic city-state, though not in the later periods of Mesopotamia, the god and goddess were incarnate in the king and queen. In the queen's chamber of the royal tomb, as we have seen, there was the head of a cow in silver. The king's chamber had been plundered, but there were harps fashioned in such a way that their bodies terminated in beautiful heads of gold. The heads of bulls with lapis lazuli beards, mythological bulls, supernormal images, from which the music of the myth and this ritual of destiny derived. It is not known by what means the kings were killed, or the priests who may have been serving by this time as their substitutes about 2500 BC. But the manner of Shub-Ad's death is perfectly clear. On the remains of a wooden bier lay the body of the queen, a gold cup near her hand. Her court was interred above his, but her own tomb had been sunk to the level of Abarges and placed beside it. The myth being enacted in this mad rite was that of the ever-dying and resurrected god, the faithful son of the abyss, or the son of the abyss who rises, Damuzi Absu, or Tammuz, Adonis, the queen of heaven, the daughter of God, goddess of the morning and evening star, the Hierodule, or slave girl dancer of the gods, who, as the morning star, is ever virgin, but as evening star is a divine harlot, and whose names in the later age were to be Ishtar, Aphrodite, and Venus. From the great above set her mind toward the great below, abandoned heaven, abandoned earth, and to the netherworld descended, to release her brother and spouse from the land of no return. By chance, a fragment of her legend from the period of the tombs of Ur survives, and we have also just such a hymn as the tongues of the women of the gold and silver ribbons sang to the harps of the moon bull that were found still in the grasp of the girl harpist's skeleton arms. Mayest thou go, thou shalt cause him to rejoice. O valorous one, star of heaven, go to greet him. To cause Damu to repose mayest thou go. Thou shalt cause him to rejoice. To the shepherd Ur-Nammu mayest thou go. Thou shalt cause him to rejoice. To the man Dungi mayest thou go. Thou shalt cause him to rejoice. To the shepherd Bur-Sin mayest thou go. Thou shalt cause him to rejoice. To the man Gimel-Sin mayest thou go. Thou shalt cause him to rejoice. To the shepherd Ibi-Sin mayest thou go. Thou shalt cause him to rejoice. The 5 last titles are the names in order of the last kings of the 3rd dynasty of Ur, about 2150 to 2050 BC, and express well the fundamental concept of this whole archaic world, which was in that the reality, the true being of the king, as of any individual, is not in his character as individual, but as archetype. He is the good shepherd, the protector of cows, and the people are his flock, his herd. Or he is the one who walks in the garden, the gardener, the one who gives life to the fields, the farmer of the gods. Again, he is the builder of the city, the culture bringer, the teacher of the arts, and he is the Lord of the celestial pastures, the moon, the sun. The 5 kings, Ur-Nammu, Dungi, Bur-Sin, Gimel-Sin, and Ebi-Sin, are the same, namely, Damu, the ever-living, ever-dying god, just as the queen is Inanna, the naked goddess whom we have known since the beginning of time. From the great above she set her mind toward the great below. The goddess from the great above, she set her mind toward the great below. Inanna from the great above, she set her mind toward the great below. My lady abandoned heaven, abandoned earth, to the nether world she descended. Inanna abandoned heaven, abandoned earth, to the nether world she descended. Abandoned lordship, abandoned ladyship, to the nether world she descended. The 7 divine decrees she fastened at her side. The Shugura, the crown of the plain, she put upon her head. Radiance she placed upon her countenance. The rod of lapis lazuli she gripped in her hand. Small lapis lazuli stones she tied about her neck. Sparkling stones she fastened to her breast. A gold ring she gripped in her hand. A breastplate she bound about her breast. All the garments of ladyship she arranged about her body. Ointment she put upon her face. Inanna walked toward the netherworld. Thus our precious fragment begins. The goddess is walking to the netherworld, which is ruled by the dark side of her own self, her sister goddess Erishkigal, and she comes to the first gate. When Inanna had arrived at the lapis lazuli palace of the netherworld, at the door of the netherworld she acted evilly. In the palace of the netherworld she spoke evilly. Open the house, gatekeeper, open the house. Open the house, Neti. Open the house. All alone I would enter. Neti, the chief gatekeeper of the netherworld, answers the pure Inanna. Who, pray, art thou? I am the queen of heaven, the place where the sun rises. If thou art the queen of heaven, the place where the sun rises, why, pray, hast thou come to the land of no return? How has thy heart led thee to the road whose traveler does not return? The pure Inanna answers him. Erishkigal, my elder sister, the Lord Gugalana, her husband, has been killed. I have come to attend the funeral. The chief gatekeeper of the netherworld, Neti, answers the pure Inanna. Stay, Inanna, let me speak to my queen. He goes and returns. Neti, the chief gatekeeper of the netherworld, speaks to the pure Inanna. Come, Inanna, enter. And the following dialogue then comes to pass. Upon her entering the first gate, the Shugura, the crown of the plain of her head, was removed. What, pray, is this? Extraordinarily, O Inanna, have the decrees of the netherworld been perfected. O Inanna, do not question the rights of the netherworld. Upon entering the second gate, the rod of lapis lazuli was removed. What, pray, is this? Extraordinarily, O Inanna, have the decrees of the netherworld been perfected. O Inanna, do not question the rights of the netherworld. Upon her entering the third gate, the small lapis lazuli stones of her neck were removed. What, pray, is this? Extraordinarily, O Inanna, have the decrees of the netherworld been perfected. O Inanna, do not question the rights of the netherworld. Upon her entering the fourth gate, the sparkling stones of her breast were removed. What, pray, is this? Extraordinarily, O Inanna, have the decrees of the netherworld been perfected. O Inanna, do not question the rights of the netherworld. Upon entering the 5th gate, the gold ring of her hand was removed. What, pray, is this? Extraordinarily, O Inanna, have the decrees of the netherworld been perfected. O Inanna, do not question the rights of the netherworld. Upon entering the 7th gate, all the garments of her body were removed. What, pray, is this? Extraordinarily, O Inanna, have the decrees of the netherworld been perfected. O Inanna, do not question the rights of the netherworld. Thus naked, the goddess came before her sister and the 7 judges of the netherworld, Ereshkigal and the Anunnaki. The pure Ereshkigal seated herself upon her throne. The Anunnaki, the 7 judges, pronounced judgment before her. They fastened their eyes upon her, the eyes of death. At their word, the word that tortures the spirit, the sick woman was turned into a corpse, and the corpse was hung from a stake. But death, as we are taught in all the mythological traditions of the world, is not the end. The lesson of the moon god, 3 days dark, is still to be told. Inanna's corpse remained on the stake. After 3 days and 3 nights had passed, her messenger, Nin-Shubur, her messenger of favorable winds, her carrier of supporting words, filled the heaven with complaints for her, cried for her in the assembly shrine, rushed about for her in the house of the gods. Like a pauper in a single garment he dressed for her. To the Ekur, the house of Enlil, all alone he directed his step. Nin-Shubur, known too as Papsukal, chief messenger of the gods, and Elabrat, the god of wings, was told by the goddess before her departure that if she did not return, he should weep before Enlil, the air god, weep before Nana, the moon god, and if these failed to respond, then weep before Enki, the lord of wisdom, the serpent, who knows the food of life and the water of life. He, she said, will surely bring me to life. The clay figurines of Nin-Shubur, the messenger, found in foundation boxes beneath the doors of temples, show him without wings, but bearing a staff or wand in his right hand. He is the prototype of Hermes, Mercury, the Olympian messenger of the gods, and the guide of souls to the underworld, who also brings souls to be born again, and so is regarded as the generator both of new lives and of the new life. Hermes' staff, it will be recalled, is the caduceus, with entwined serpents. But the meaning of these serpents is precisely the same as that of the ritual and myth we are now discussing. Namely, it is a reference to the divine world-renovating connubium of the monster serpent with the naked goddess in her serpent form. Wishing to be certain of the reference of the sign of the caduceus, Dr. Henri Frankfurt once sent an inquiry to the British Museum of Natural History. The symbol in which you are interested may well represent 2 snakes pairing. Mr. H.W. Parker, assistant keeper of zoology, replied. As a general rule, the male seizes the female by the back of the neck, and the 2 bodies are more or less intertwined. Vipers are said to have the bodies completely intertwined. This, then, comments Dr. Frankfurt, explains most satisfactorily why the caduceus should have become the symbol of our god, who is thus characterized as the personification of the generative force of nature. Hermes, the Greek carrier of the serpent staff, which is both beautiful and terrible and both bestows sleep and awakens, is the inventor of the lyre and of the art of making fire with the fire sticks. He is furthermore the archetypal trickster god of the ancient world. We think of the bull-voiced lyres of the graves of and the Greek orgies where bull voices roared from somewhere out of the unseen. Aeschylus, Fragments 57. We think of the young boy and girl of the fire sticks in Africa in their shocking rite. And we think, too, of Coyote Trickster, who turned himself into a girl and became pregnant. Hermes, too, is androgyne, as one should know from the sign of his staff. When the messenger, Ninshuber, then Hermes' prototype, had wept to no effect, first before Enlil and then before the moon god, Nana, of the city of he turned to Enki, lord of the waters of the abyss, who, when he had heard, cried out, "What now has my daughter done? I am troubled. What has Inanna done? I am troubled. What now has the queen of all the lands done? I am troubled. What now has the Hierodule of heaven done? I am troubled." He brought forth dirt and fashioned two sexless creatures, two angels. To the one he gave the food of life, and to the other he gave the water of life. And then he issued his commands. Upon the corpse hung from a stake, direct the fear of the rays of fire. 60 times the food of life, 60 times the water of life, sprinkle upon it. Verily, Inanna will arise. Upon the corpse hung from a stake, they directed the fear of the rays of fire. 60 times the food of life, 60 times the water of life, they sprinkled upon it. Inanna arose. Inanna ascended from the netherworld. The Anunnaki fled. And whoever of the netherworld had descended peacefully to the netherworld, when Inanna ascended from the netherworld, verily the dead hastened ahead of her. Inanna ascends from the netherworld. The small demons like reeds, the large demons like tablet styluses walk at her side. The conclusion of the piece is missing, but the import of the image is clear enough. It is a theme that has been given many turns in the course of the centuries since. One thinks, for example, of Mary Magdalene at the tomb, weeping outside the tomb. And as she wept, she stooped to look within. But she saw two angels sitting in white where the body of Jesus had been, one at the head and one at the feet. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She answered, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Saying which, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but did not know that it was Jesus. He said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom do you seek?" And supposing him to be the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell him where you have laid him, and I will take him away." He said to her, "Mary." She turned and she said to him in Hebrew, "Teacher." Jesus said to her, "Do not hold me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Then Mary Magdalene went and said to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord."